see that. Okay, not bad. Now I just want to make sure my chat is working. I always do this. Alright, let's go back to what I was doing yesterday. What percentage is this? 50, 150, okay. Now, I do believe maybe it's just in Word. Oh, sweet. Okay, that's right. they changed the look again. My God, they keep updating it. I wish they'd update the. Oh yeah, the delete is over here on the side. Sweet. Okay, so Mira is like a black box, but I want to do space. So I'm going to add a photo, a free photo, and I want to do outer space. Oh, no, I can't use that because okay, that's better. Not a spaceship. Sorry. I want a rocket. I wonder how well the remove background feature works. Let's test it. It's not exactly what I want. I could just leave it like that with the out of rocket. Just add text. Let's do that. Oh, okay. It's divvied up into sections here. Got it. So M I R A. Does this have its own flame? It sure does. I didn't know that. There we go. I feel like I want to make this a bit bigger. no, it's 20. Alright, here go all my images now. I actually want to make all of these images clean, meaning they don't have the Friday fiction and the link at the bottom. I want to have a clean version. So let's go back to images here. Hmm. I just realized I should probably do the images within each year as opposed to the images separate from each year. So basically, I would take this away. I wish there was a way to hide something instead of deleting it. Before I do that, well, let's think. For my Instagram images, I feel like I need to have that on there, right? I can't not. So let's think. Let's think. Mm-mm. Where are my squares? Okay, hold on. Let's take this and oh, can I not delete them one at a time? I mean, in a group? I guess not. Oh, my squares are right here. Oh, I'm looking at them. Okay. Folks are driving down today. How do I add a folder? Oh. Traffic is to go. There's no place like for the holidays. Oh, no matter how far away you roam, if you want to be happy in a million ways. I have too many folders here, so whenever I have too many folders, this is what I do. Create an archive, and I move them all into the archive. Oh, Jesus Christ, I didn't mean to do that. In a million ways, oh, can't beat home, sweet home. I wish there was a way to select all. That would be great. Actually, I don't even need to move all of these, do I? I do not. I think I redid some of these. Okay. Those are the only ones I'm going to move. The rest of them will go into the archive. Light blue, light up for you, dear Santa baby. So hurry down the chimney tonight. Okay, so now if I come here, sweet. Oh, hello. Sorry, I don't have a proper chat window, so I can't see. But I can fix that. Yeah, I'm gonna start writing myself. I'm setting things up for myself, but Shortly, I will be writing as well. Well, since I have, I'm gonna have to figure out which ones I do have and which ones I don't have now. Um, I'll just do a simple Y or N condition. Conditional formatting. Yeah, like that. Okay. Seems simple enough. So for the ring, I know I'm for sure a Y in both regards. And the same thing here. I don't know about bone war. Okay, I do have bone war. I stop going to the wrong window. I do have what big teeth. I do have time of death. I do have letters to Emma. I think I do have the secret keeper down here somewhere. Yep. I don't have any of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I should only have 10 here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I have 12 though. So this one, would have more than 12. This one, okay, let's get rid of all the ones that I know I've redone. Oh, frig, I can't delete. It's really annoying that I can't check all these and delete them. Hey Adobe, put that feature in. I want to be able to delete things in bulk. romance can blossom any old time. Here in the open, we're walking and hoping together. All right, there's all 10 of them now. Oh, damn. I shouldn't have deleted those. I'm gonna have to redo them. Oh, I thought I had. Oh, man. Okay. I'm also noticing something else here. Take all of these and put them in. Want them out of sight, out of mind. Okay. New rule, delete nothing. Looks like the only one I redid was the Lost Girls. Okay, 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1, that's 31. Does that seem right? Did I? I don't think I did the Hanover Massacre. Oh, I did. It's cold outside. If we got pneumonia and it is cold outside. Why is this taking so long? Oh, there we go. Stop doing that. Oh, sweet. Oh, I have to plug in my thing here. My laptop is dying. Okay, that should do it. Yeah. Okay. Little makeshift camera cover. missing? Oh, where's the ring? There we go. Where the hell is it? Am I blind? I don't see it here. It says it's in rectangle, but I didn't see it. I must be. Oh, Vanessa, only you can see somebody waits for you. Is it once for me? Have a holly jolly Christmas. In case you didn't hear. Have a cup of cheer. Can I change this background? Is it once for me? Have a holly jolly Christmas. see that before. 16. Okay. with you so carefully. I'm gonna close this for now and do a quick wrap up here. Hmm. I didn't know there was a writers category. Sorry, I got distracted looking at that. Oh, no, no, no. This one, I need a new. Goodness sake. You better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Oh, no, no, no. I have too many subfolders. Too many. Um, Here we go. Too many subfolders. is. And sub. That's exactly how I want it, but I haven't used Google Docs in a while, so let's see if I could remember what I'm doing. What is this? Oh, font size. Interesting. Um, what the holy hell's bells? Okay. You know what sucks when you've written something a long time ago and you don't quite remember? Is this justified? I feel like it is, but I can't actually tell. We'll worry about that next. To test anything that is not justified. My eyes just won't allow it. Okay. Where'd my cursor go? There we go. Sorry, I'm listening to Christmas music. Insert a page break there. Now, yep, okay. So my plan here is to write this story right now, or this week. I like that image. Actually came out pretty nice. Okay. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to edit what I've written so far, possibly do a lot of rewriting, and then I'm going to finish this story. Um, and it will technically be the first story that I do and rewrite and finish with my new goal in mind, which is to just write short fiction. And I've been doing a lot of research, um, subscribing to certain magazines, publications, et cetera, looking at what their guidelines are. And for the most part, I'm safe in so far as the story just shouldn't be over 17,000 words, which sounds like a lot, um, but that's the cap for um, most literary short fiction, science fiction, fantasy, etc. Actually, the cap is 17,499 words. I'm probably gonna hold myself to 15,000 because I feel like my stories um, thus far, if you look at my word count here, my longest one was when I did a retelling of The Wizard of Oz at 10,000. Um, and then my other stories barely even come close to that, except for um, this one, again, which is like a fairy tale, not a retelling, just a regular fairy tale. And this one, I believe, isn't even fully fleshed out or finished. So Um, I see that I have a message, unfortunately. Oh, hey, what's up? I was actually just about to hop off of here so I could do like work, um, before I go back to doing some actual writing. But I was just trying to pick which story I was going to do because I have to do one of these four right here. Um, and I think I'm going to do Mirror, then I'm going to do The Eternal View is my goal, but I really like um, Mira, MIRA. I like that concept. I had thought of it back like 4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, about a and since with NASA like launching rocket ships, I feel like every other week, I'm just in that mode of like outer space right now, and it's just about how a supercomputer is being sent to a planet. The which planet is really irrelevant. The point is the supercomputer itself and the fact that the it believes that it is human and real, and um, she, because it's a female voice, um, decides that she's going to play a trick on the two astronauts who have been sent to um, in the rocket ship to transport her to this place where they're going to the idea is to leave her there, and she will transmit information, so on and so forth, back to planet Earth, similar to like Wally when he's supposed to find uh vegetation, and then that means the humans can come back type of situation. Or when they sent Rover to Mars to look for any sort of signs of life, so they're sending her, but she doesn't want to be left alone. I mean, who does? And so she devises these tricks to kind of get into their head, into the head of the two astronauts, and then it has a bit of a I guess you could say a twist ending, so to speak. But I just like the idea of it's just three characters. It's the two astronauts, two male astronauts, and the supercomputer who's named Mira, MIRA. Um, so I'm going to do that one, and then I have to do apparently an image because I don't have an image for the Eternal View, but that one is another good one that had multiple endings similar to Mira. They both have multiple endings, and so I have to pick the one that I like the most. But I think with the Eternal View, I'm actually going to have it be one of those choose your own endings type of thing where you'll get to a certain point and then the reader will be asked a question, and then based on the answer you give, you get a different ending. Um, so that one's going to be cool, and that one's a bit of a morbid tale where humans uh, can't die. There's only one way that a human can die, basically, and um, this like unforeseen body of people decide when it's your time to go, and the way that it happens is there's this huge tower called the Eternal View, and it's like, you know, 500 stories high or some nonsense like that. And so you are sent on on an elevator with your um, companion, if you will, on this ride, and you take this elevator from the bottom floor, and it goes all the way up to the top, and then you and your like stewardess companion type person basically jump off the building, and by the time you freely jump off the building, you die basically. um, and that's the contract that all um, people in society in this day and age sign. They sign this thing saying that they freely and willingly um, will do this when this secret, higher committee decides it's their time to go, because it's the only way to maintain the population growth, et cetera, especially since everyone, for whatever reason, um, just doesn't, can't die. And this story, um, The Eternal View, is from the point of view of this guy who ends up in a like horrific car accident, and they believe that he is no longer a highly functioning human. So they are sent so immediately after they save his life on the operating table, they take him and give him to, a companion who is going to now take him to the top of the elevator so that he can do what he pledged his that he would do. However, he has amnesia, and so he doesn't remember that he signed this contract. He's very confused. Um, and so he so he's like fighting his inner demons, and at the same time, while he's on this elevator, another person is on the elevator with their companion, and the person he's on the elevator with is this really old woman, who is well past her the age with which she should have taken this trip, but she always ends up hiding or doing something so that she doesn't end up taking this trip. But so now she's like 80 plus years old. And so she's, trying to explain to him what the situation is as they travel slowly up this elevator. And then once they get to the top, you know, what's supposed to happen happens. But that's another one that I really, really, really like that one. So these two being my favorites so far that I have written some of. I'm just going to go back and clean it up, etc., etc. Yeah, I know Brenna's always sending people to me. That girl's crazy. I don't know why she does that. Don't know why she does that. Why is that? Now, when I first thought of this, Mira, Mira, was specifically because I had initials, like each letter stood for something. And now here I am 4 years later, no idea what each initial stands for. And apparently I didn't have the foresight to write that down. So, yeah, I'm a moron because I didn't write it down. But now I like the name so much, I'm keeping it. It's just, unfortunate that I don't remember what the hell it was supposed to stand for. Hold on, I have junk. I need to delete and delete. So let's start at the top. I need a name for my spacecraft. What do people normally call spaceships? I mean, I feel like they're usually I do outline, yes. I have my outline. I actually do two outlines if I'm doing a novel, but with a short story, I usually only need a simple outline. So right here, I have my simple outline, and then I have my ending, which I won't show. But yeah, if it because I'm writing just short stories now, so what I usually will try to do is come up with how many characters are in the story, and I try not to do too many characters because it's a short story and you don't need to be inundating the reader with having to remember more than five characters, I would think. Um, so I give like who are the characters, what's their goal, um, what's the point for that character in the story, and then just a simple outline of the steps that I want to take. If I was doing a novel, I would be much more in depth. I would do um, start out with the save the cat, the 14/15 steps of that, which would essentially be my simple outline. And then I would take my simple outline and extend it to be a detailed outline. And my detailed outline usually is chapter by chapter. So I would take the simple outline and then um, extend it to say this is what's going to happen in each chapter. And that tells me how many chapters I'm going to have in my novel, and usually I try to do between 2 and 4,000 words per chapter, so that can also tell me how many words the book is going to be. Um, yeah, if you do save the cat, you know, that one tells you scene by scene. I would only do that again if I was doing a novel. I'm not writing novels anymore. I'm only writing short stories. So I wouldn't do a scene by scene breakdown of a short story because that would be me writing the story. A short story in itself is not meant. Um, you can only find the blank form. What do you when you say blank form? Because I have. Let me think. Um, because I read the one that's the Save the Cat, the novel version. Although when I did my, where would I have put my Save the Cat thing? Let me think. Oh, that's not gonna open for me. Oh my God, the Librarian of Brim Terrell. Wow, that was a while ago. So I used to have a uh my own breakdown that I would do. I know I have it for Scrivener, which is a strange place to keep it, I know. But let me see if I still have it in Scrivener. Yes, yes, open it. Although I don't have Dropbox on this computer. Oh my God, are you telling me I have not? Hold on. I haven't opened Scrivener on this computer, apparently. So I have to. Here's my serial number. Thank God that I saved these things. Activation was successful. Well, of course it was. I own Scrivener. What are you telling me for? Think I'd lie? Um, I'm not familiar. What are the 56 scene breakdowns? I'm not familiar with is that from Save the Cat? Because I've read the original Blake Snyder Save the Cat as well as his the sequel because I own both books and I'm not familiar with the 56 scene breakdown. Um, for my purposes, I feel breaking it down 56 scenes like that is too minute and too granular. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself that way. You always want to keep yourself. It's going to take me too long. I have to download Dropbox and then I have to do all these things. Yeah, no, what I did was I did the percentages. So, like the opening scene, the hook should only be like 5%. And I don't do a 80,000 word, I do 90. So, I don't usually break it down. That to me, that because that would mean that that I'm going to be writing essentially 56 chapters because normally each chapter is a scene, unless you do a scene break within each chapter, which I don't like to do because that's shifting within the chapter, and I like to shift characters and scenes chapter by chapter, and I try not to do more than 40 chapters per book, and I usually do 40 chapters, 90,000 words. Um, and that would suppose um, that each part, because all 15 parts are different lengths, are intended to be different lengths. Um, the middle would be usually a longer slog than the beginning and the end. The beginning and the end are shorter in terms of what happens in the action packedness, and the middle is the part that people usually struggle with the most because that's when the most happens and it can get sloggily done. But yeah, each person I'll say does it differently. For example, I don't just use Save the Cat. I use the three act structure and I also use the snowflake method. And I also use and now it escapes me. Oh my God. How did I draw a blank? There's another method that I use and I'm trying to envision the book because unfortunately all my books are still packed away in boxes. But I actually use four different um, methods. So and I take certain aspects of each method that works for me in order to then make my method of outlining, right? So what Brenna does is going to be different from what I do, from what you do, from no two writers have the same method of their madness to get to the story that they've written. Everybody does it differently because I mean, I've even listened to what's his name, Brandon Sanderson's lectures, and there were again one or two things that he does that I might find fascinating and useful for the particular book that I'm writing at a particular time, but it doesn't mean that now every book that I write is going to be using a similar method. Um, the way you find it is you use them all. You use them all, and then you're like, well, this doesn't fucking work for me. I'm not going to use this anymore. And so you throw it away. The snowflake method is atrocious. However, I do like the idea that they have where you sit down and you literally write one sentence about your story. Love that idea. So I say, okay, this is the story I want to write. I can only tell it in one sentence. Okay, I did that. And then the snowflake method is kind of like building the flake. So now the next thing is write that, tell that same story now in 5 sentences. Okay, so now here it is condensed in 1 sentence. Now I'm going to try to do it in 5 sentences. And now, so I use the snowflake method to write my synopsis because to me that works. I don't know how the hell people use the snowflake method to write an entire novel. And quite frankly, I don't give a damn. Doesn't work for me. Not going to use it. Then I take the beat sheet, right? The Save the Cat Blake Snyder beat sheet. And to me, each bolded heading for the beat sheet works for me. My mind can wrap myself around it. I can get it. So I write one paragraph for each thing. Is that the way you're supposed to do it? No. There's actually a much more detailed method of doing it. I don't give a damn. I'm not going to do it that way. This is how I am going to take the beat sheet, and this is how I am going to use it for what I need to get done. The 3-act method, I take the 15 points of the beat sheet and I break it into 3 acts. There's a 4-act method, there's even a 5, and there's even a 7-act method. Don't give a shit about the 5, 7, 4-act method. They don't work for me. I don't get them. I don't need to get them, right? What you need to do is just either absorb them all and then throw out what you don't like, or say, for this particular story that I'm going to write, I'm going to use the 15-act beat sheet method. And either you like the story at the end or you don't. If you don't, because it was just really a horrible experience for you, don't ever use that method again. Try the snowflake method. If that rings bells for you and you're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, I love this, do it that exact way. If only certain parts of it work, take those parts and do it. There is no set in stone rule for what method you should use, and even if you should outline, you don't even have to outline. You can do it however you want. I outline detailed chapter by chapter, and I will tell you that for all of the novels that I've written, maybe 10, maybe 15% of my actual detailed chapter by chapter outline is what I actually ended up writing when the book was done. Because my outline, I'm not handcuffed to. They are simply breadcrumbs so that if I should stray, I might go back to my outline and say, okay, wait, there were certain points I wanted to make sure that my story hit. So while I didn't follow my outline, I want to make sure that my ending gets to this ending. So I use my outline just to make sure that I don't travel too far off the continent while I'm writing. Um, no, it's fine. I want to make sure at the end of the day that nobody's rules or suggestions overtake my creativity, right? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be my idea and my story and how I tell it that's going to get the writer or the reader interested in reading it. So I don't want someone to read my story and be able to say at the end, like, they clearly used the save the cat method here. I can see the steps that they took along the way because that's not why I wrote it. I didn't write it to say I know how to use the save the cat method so well and boom 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 boom, here's my story. Right? That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is to be a storyteller and tell the story. How and what method I use to get there is not what I want. Even the most seasoned writer who reads my story, I don't want a writer who has used all the methods, all of them, to be able to go in there and say, "Oh, I can tell what method she used." Totally. I can tell that she outlined and I can tell that she started with the hook and she, you know, did here's the fun and games section from, Save the Cat, and oh yeah, and no, I like, because I did a mishmash of things, and may you never know what mishmash of things I used. Just be satisfied with the story I told and how I told it, and that it was hopefully entertaining enough for you. I wonder if I can search for. It might actually be. Um, well, it depends on the story I'm telling and my outline on how I feel um, the fun and games section because there's a rise and a fall in each chapter, right? So I think of it as one step at a time because I think people get too bogged down on the rules, and the whole point is to break the rules and that there are no rules. So if you're trying to decipher the code on fun and games, you're doing it wrong. Y- Because fun and games doesn't have to come in the order with which Blake Snyder said it does. Fun and games can come in the beginning. Fun and games can come at the end and be your cliffhanger to your second book, right? So if you're trying to decipher the code in the exact 15 steps or 56 scene breakdowns or 3 acts or whatever, you're doing it wrong because you shouldn't be following the rules because there are no rules. The story is the story, however you need to tell it, right? The only rules I feel there are in writing are grammatical and punctuation. That's it. There are no other rules in terms of how you start, how you finish. Because if you're trying to stick to rules, then you're going to end up hating the process that you want to love because you are a writer and you want to write. So the first thing I'll tell you is screw the rules. There are no rules. As long as you're writing structurally the sentences as correctly as you can, go with it. Because at the end of the day, there are no rules. Hey, Silent Willow, how's it going? Welcome. Um, what I will say is I do try to have rise and fall in each chapter, in that, in each chapter, there are good points that happen. And then by the end of the chapter, something terrible happened, which is going to make you want to turn the page and read the next chapter. Because or something funny happens, or new bit of information is learned, there needs to be a rise and a fall in each chapter. How you accomplish that rise and fall, totally up to you. If you're writing a romance, a fantasy, a sci-fi, literary fiction, you know, whodunit mystery, I don't know. But each chapter needs to have something to get the reader to turn the page to get to the next chapter. Um, I'm doing better. I can't remember the last time I streamed, but I think it might have been long before I ended up going into the ER for a severe illness situation. So I'm definitely doing better. I am on the mend, where hopefully I will be able to partake of a proper Thanksgiving meal this Thanksgiving. Um, but yeah, so I wish myself a speedy recovery. It was not a good 2 weeks. 2 weeks of just excruciating pain that leads to going to the emergency room is nothing I would wish upon even my worst enemy. Oh, I keep getting sidetracked from what I'm looking for. Hey, I'm on a liquid diet, so hopefully I will be able to have Thanksgiving. I don't know yet. But I am currently on a no solid food diet because my stomach cannot properly handle any other kind of food. So I am praying to anyone who will listen that I am able to partake of real food when the time comes. Wait, what? Oh, no, never mind. Um, Lordy. Oh, I think I found it. My God. Let's see. Yeah, I did. Oh, snap. Okay, let me move this over to this screen. I don't know why I named it story structure template. That's what threw me off. Um, so I have, hold on, let me just count these real quick. One, two. Yeah, so this is usually, again, back when I used to write novels, which I don't anymore. Um, where am I? Where'd it go? Oh, I went to the back. So, oh, now I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is usually how I would structure my stories. This would be my simple outline. Um, this wouldn't be my detailed outline. This would just be and I would literally just write a sentence or two of my story into each bit here. I don't know where these link to. Let me just click it and see. Oh, okay. So this is someone who I follow, and I have many of her books. So if you're someone who likes to get like those kind of self-help type books, um, so I think I might have almost all of her books. K.M. Wayland, I might have. I definitely have her outlining your novel and structuring your novel, and each book comes with its own workbook. So it's a book, and then there's a workbook where it has things where you could answer questions and fill out stuff and et cetera, et cetera. So if that's the kind of thing you like, by all means. And then yeah, I can share this with you. I might have it in my Google Drive, but if I don't, I'll just copy and paste it and then put a link and you can just do what you want with it. Each link here, clickable link, takes you to an article that she wrote going into more detail about this particular section. So here's someone else who I have used um, her method, quote unquote, and taken certain aspects of it. Um, but again, do I use it 100%? No, I don't, um, because I have the Drayton method, right? Brandon Sanderson has the Sanderson rules. I have the Drayton method. Brenna has her method, and each time you write a book and you learn more things about yourself and about these rules, it changes. So my Drayton method will never be the same for two books in a row because I have grown as a writer. You will grow as a writer. Silent Willow will grow as a writer. Every writer, Stephen King, everyone will grow as a writer. So the way in which, Stephen King wrote Carrie is not the way in which Stephen King wrote, the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. It's just that those were two different stages of his life. So each book that you write takes you into a new stage, a new way of writing and storytelling. So um, something else I'll say is don't try to nail down a method and a thing and think this is how I'm going to do it every time for the rest of my life. Not going to happen.
you change over time and you grow and you learn and you mature over time. So, you know, this might help you right now, but it might not be good for you tomorrow or next month or next year or the next story that you tell. Um, let's come back to my main drive here and let me see if I actually might already have it here. Oh yeah, so I don't think I actually have the beat sheets here though, right? My intention is to copy and paste it in here, right? Yeah, so these are all of the different kinds of on my website. Um, oh, the story grid, that's the one. That's the last one that I was um, using and learning about right before I decided I was no longer going to do um, story writing or novel writing anymore. Was the story grid, which is a really great other method, and that one I don't have it in a way that I can share it with you. But I'm gonna actually add this here. It's the what did I call it? Story structure template. Story structure. So the story grid is for someone who is extremely detail oriented, like you're going to spreadsheet your whole thing. Like when I say spreadsheet, I mean like you're going to take what you would do for like this the snowflake method and the all of these other methods, and you would copy and paste like your paragraphs and you would write your paragraphs and everything in a huge spreadsheet type of grid looking thing. It's very detailed, it's very finite, broken down, but it's all done in like an Excel spreadsheet. Um, it's very mathematical, quantified. You don't miss, nothing gets left out of the story grid. And he has a podcast which I would suggest listening to while you're reading the book, because I don't that method was a bit too handcuffed to it um, than I like. I like freedom, and if I can't be free when I'm writing, then I'm not gonna like writing. Because to me, writing is something I enjoy, and the second I stop enjoying it because I have to follow rules and regulations and if I don't do it this way, then it's just I can't do that. What's the point? I feel. Um, so otherwise, I'm not going to be a writer. I'm going to be a sad, sad person. I think you're lucky as a new writer because you don't know the rules, therefore break them all. The second you start learning the rules, I feel like it's the second you start losing your creativity. You don't know. Got to know the rules to break them. Don't know the rules, break them. That means you're breaking all of them. The second you learn the rules is the second your brain starts to try to make sure you don't break them. Which is why they say if you read your story out loud, you're more likely to catch errors, because if you read a story to yourself, if you read your own story to yourself, you know what your brain does? 9 out of 10 times, your brain will correct your errors and you won't realize it because your mind is putting a comma because your brain knows a comma belongs there. Your brain will fix the spelling of that word because your brain knows how that word is supposed to be spelt. So if you speak the words, if you speak the story out loud, your brain will not have enough time to fix it so that you'll speak it correctly. You'll end up seeing the errors, right? So that's why I feel like the second you start learning what the rules are, that's when your brain remembers it and now you try to break it, but you can't because you know what the rule is, and you're like, oh, I can't break that because I know that that's not right, and therefore I'm going to write it the way the rules say I should. You know what I mean? Um, so I feel like you're better off not knowing the rules because then you are more likely to break them. The second you know what the rules are, you are less likely to break them because your brain just won't allow you to do it. Um, let's see. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Okay, anyone like the link? Yeah, let's copy the link. Done. Okay, and that should be this thing that you just asked me for. So now if you click that, you should be able to come in here and just copy and paste it into your own Google Doc or download it or whatever. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with how Google Doc works. But like I said, if you click the link here, it will, like right here, take you into what she wrote this back in 2012, but it's still, relevant today. And it will just take you to, what the climax is, and this all, like I said, comes from her book. So if you wanted to just buy the book set, like buy the set, don't buy the book separate. Because you can buy it separate, or you can buy the set, which is the book with the workbook attached to it. And she also gives you examples, which I like as well. So from film and literature, she'll give you an example in how that book or that movie, in this instance, had a climax, and then, all these different, like it's very helpful. And then she also recorded it, so you can listen to it as an audio. And she also does have a podcast which comes out, I don't know, multiple times a week or something like that. Um, well, I think Silent Willow. I don't know if you probably came after I said it. I said the only rules that I follow are grammatical and punctuation, but any other rules, I follow them with a grain of salt. But I feel like the only rules that are rules that should not and cannot be broken are the grammatical and punctuation ones. However, when you talk about things like the snowflake method, the story grid, the beat sheets, the 3 act, the 4 act, the 5 act, the 7 act method, when you talk about all those things, those are not hard and fast, must follow, must stick to rules. Those are suggestions, those are opinions, those are ways in which you can get to an end result, but those are definitely things that you should cherry pick and use however you want. You should never say the snowflake method is the method I use and I use it and I don't stray from that thing because everyone has their own way in which they get to the end result. But obviously, um, no one is an expert in catching and learning and doing all grammar and punctuation, but you should learn those things as you write. And so, like I said, what you wrote 5 years ago will hopefully be better grammatically and punctuation speaking 5 years later. Certain mistakes that you continuously made with spelling and grammar and punctuation, you hopefully won't be making in your next story and your next story and your next story, so that eventually you get better, but there are always mistakes in those areas, in those regards, but those are things that should be followed. Sentence structure is very important, but story structure is different and story method is different from writer to writer, of course. Yeah, I had mentioned that before, but like I said, you probably weren't here when I said that. Anyway, let me know, Big Juicy, if you click that link and you are not able to copy and paste or download or whatever it is you can do once you click on it. Because if you can't, I'll try to change the rules. Um, change the rules. I'll try to change the sharing abilities. Okay, I think I see two people in here, so you should be able to access this. Sweet. Oh, I don't need to leave it open anymore then. That's old news for me. I'm going to close this. Like I said, I don't use it anymore because that's more for like novel stuff, and I feel like it doesn't suit my purposes of writing short fiction, um, which is what I'm going to be doing. It's good to never throw things away. Keep all things, even if you don't remember what you named it or where the hell you put it in your files and folders. Don't throw it away. Okay, sweet, you made a copy. Um, oh boy. I also have my character creation kit, but I think that might be in my um, Writers Network section, um, which basically takes the Myers Briggs 16 character traits and gives you all the details you could possibly need about that in order to create a character, and using those details about a specific kind of person, an INTJ or whatever, um, and then using those character traits to then plug them into a character that you create in your story. Um, like I said, I don't think I have that in my drive anymore. I think I removed it. Let me see. Yeah, I think because it would be a whole folder. So yeah, it must be gone. Oh, at any event, let's go back to what I was doing. Friday fiction. Sweet. Okay. Oh wait, that's in 2020. Sorry, 2020. Here we go. Oh my God, look at the time. Okay, so I have to do like regular work. Also, if you don't subscribe to this, you should. I don't know. I can't see myself. Why can't I see myself? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so I subscribe to Writer's Digest. Love it. I actually just subscribed to two other publications. I subscribe to this. I subscribe to fantasy and science fiction, which I'm going to be submitting one, either this story or the other story, The Eternal View. I'm going to be submitting um, probably to this publication here, which comes out I think every 2 months. Um, I'm really excited about that. What was the other ones I subscribed to? Let me think. Hold on one second. I think I subscribed to two more recently publications. Two more. Let me see if I can find them in my emails. Da-da-da-da. The Writer. Okay, I subscribed to The Writer, which is another magazine. And then one more. Oh, the Saturday Evening Post. So I'm excited about those two. Um, the Saturday Evening Post specifically because that one has been a publication, I think that's been around for almost 200 years, since the late 1800s, I believe. It was one of the first. I've been doing research based on an article that I actually read in here, um, written by Jane Friedman, who you should, check out her website whenever you can. And if you have an email, like sign up to her newsletter because she does give great advice. But one of the articles in here is a brief history of how writers earn a living. And it's just a very fascinating article that I was reading about how the concept of writers earning money for the work, for the stories that they wrote, even came to be because, fun fact, if you didn't know, earning money for writing is something fairly new. It wasn't something that was done. Um, it was actually very taboo to um, willingly say that you were earning money from the stories that you were writing. That was not a thing back then, because publishing houses wasn't a thing and everything like that. Only the richest, most noble people could afford to have a book of a story. If you were someone who wrote that story, you didn't want to. Um, you didn't receive money for it. What you received was notoriety because you knew that Charles Dickens, your story was being read by all of the noble people, all the nobility. So in the beginning times, when there weren't printing presses, so there were literally people who would sit down and take your story and handwrite it, and so there would only be like maybe 20 copies of your story. Back then, you didn't get paid for your story. What your payment was in fame, in name recognition. And then what happened was more people learned how to read. So the middle class, the poor people, were then taught how to read. And when that happened, then it was like, oh, okay, more people know how to read. We need to come up with a way for these stories to be read by now these people who know how to read and are using it as a pastime, right? And in fact, it was Charles Dickens who was the editor of several publications. And so he would, cherry pick these stories and everything else. But yes, it was exposure. You didn't actually, and you would have a patron. It's so funny that we have Patreon now because before you either didn't get money at all, your living was earned in other things. You were a writer as a pastime and you were a famed writer, right? And so a lot of authors would also change their names and use it and write under a pen name because they didn't want to admit that they were receiving money for the stories that they were writing. So they didn't want in social circles for anyone to know that they would, one, a writer, and if they were a writer, that two, they were actually getting paid for it. So they would sometimes change their name and write under a pen name. But what would happen is if writing was your only means of support, then you would have a patron. So some famous Rockefeller or whatever would pay for your lodging, for your food, for your clothing for a set number of years, and you would live in this house and and eat the food and whatever. And for like 5 years, you would work on your one big great work, like a Leo Tolstoy War and Peace kind of work, right? And your patron would pay for you to just sit around and write your story. And what they would get for giving all this money so that you could write this work is you would write them a glowing letter of love and adoration in the beginning of the book. So, in the beginning of the book, the introduction or whatever would be this thing saying, oh, thank you, Lord Fauntleroy, for, you know, giving me the opportunity to blah 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 blah. So they would get like 2 3 pages, and that would be enough for them because again, as a patron, and you would know that there would be 100. That book would be published in 100 times, and 100 different people out in the world would now be reading this and would know that you are a patron of the arts and you gave, X amount of money to this person so that they could sit down and write this one great work, which is now a literary masterpiece, right? And then now you fast forward to about maybe the mid to late 1800s, early 1900s, when there became more printing, an actual printing press, and you were able to now publish more than just several dozen but hundreds if not thousands. You now had a newspaper, so people were submitting things to newspapers. You had magazines, you had different forms of ways that people in the middle class could now read more stories, right? And so at that point was when the idea and the possibility of earning a living and making money contractually with printing presses came into fruition, more so in the United States than in the UK. But yes, that's when it started happening, like in the late 1800s to early 1900s, was when the idea of like pay me for my work became a thing. Otherwise, way back in the day when these stories first came out and these writers first started writing, like Jane Austen and you know uh, those types of people, they weren't making, J.K. Rowling money. In fact, they didn't want to. It was like, you're paying me for my literary, artistic, my awesome piece of fiction. I don't want your money. What I want is for everyone in the land to know who I am and to know my name and to have read my work and found, to get paid for it would have diminished the work, basically, in their minds. To have received money for this great thing would have just been like muddying it. It wouldn't have been this great thing if they had received financial reward, right? The reward was everyone will know me for the rest of my life. And guess what? They do. And it is because back then you didn't have every year 6,000 new books written, right? Like today. Today, there is so many books that come out and get written from an indie to a the top five, the big five publishers, that it's like it's hard for a book to stand out like Crime and Punishment, like, you know, um, A Christmas Carol or War and Peace or Moby Dick, because back then, if a book was published, it was like one of five in that year, one of 10. So it's true today, like yes, we write a book and we do it so that we can hopefully earn a living from it. It's just unfortunate that that's where it ended up, because in truth what we did was we ended up taking away um, the greatness and the notoriety that came with publishing that one great work, and knowing that that one great work will live on beyond my lifespan and will live on forever and will be remembered and read by hundreds of millions. That doesn't happen as much as it did in the past. um, will Harry Potter, will J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter um, live on 100 years from now, 200 years from now, the way something like Crime and Punishment will, or Pride and Prejudice will live on forever? How many hundreds of years? But who's going to remember a book that came out 100 years ago? And will it be taught in classrooms? And will it be, will new generations of readers pick this up and love it the way they do with 1984 or The Animal Farm? You know, where where has the great literary works gone now? Um, yes, they still happen and they still get published, but they aren't they don't carry the same weight in name as the authors of yesteryear because there are hundreds, thousands now. So you need that niche audience, right? Now that's what we live off of. If we don't have a niche audience, if we don't have that niche 1,000 readers, that true fan, we're dead in the water. Um, Sad but true. But yeah, so I mean, that article that I read in this thing was just like, I mean, I found myself, going whenever I read an article and I find myself going to other sources to get more information about the thing I just read, then I know what I just read was truly amazing. And this is actually their 100th anniversary because Writer's Digest has been in publication for now 100 years, which is crazy to think that, there's a magazine that I read and I am a part of that has been in existence for 100 years. It's just like, wow. But yeah, this is an amazing read. I wonder if they have it that you can read it free online because, let me see. She writes a lot of articles, so it is entirely possible that this particular one that she wrote for Digest is. Why did they change the look of their site? I mean, oh my God. When you haven't gone to something in many moons, I don't even know. Okay. I no longer know how to navigate the Writer's Digest website. Here we go. Okay, articles from this author. Yeah, no, they don't have it on here, unfortunately. You have to have the actual magazine to read it. Yeah, I watch the Sanderson lectures every now and again. I don't find him as scintillating as I'm sure many people do, or as captivating. I actually, the person who I watch for creativity and to learn, that I still watch to this day every Friday, to learn how to just be a better writer, surprisingly enough. And people are usually surprised when I tell them because he's an illustrator first and a writer second, but it's this guy by the name of Mark Crilly. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with his work or his YouTube videos, but he's got like 3 million plus YouTube subscribers. And he, like I said, he's an illustrator. So if you go and look him up on YouTube, you're going to be like, uh, he's drawing. Yes, he is. However, he does have so many insights, and he has an entire playlist of videos about writing, and it's writing from the point of view of a comic writer because he's a comic writer, and he writes comic books and other graphic novels, really. But it's it works for novel writing and short story writing and fiction writing. It's not exclusive to graphic novel writing in any way, shape, or form. And he talks about dialogue. He talks about characters. He talks about um, you know writing the beginning, the middle, and the ending. Um, I mean, everything you could think of, he discusses it. And while he's talking about these different points and things that he finds helpful, he's illustrating because he is an illustrator first and a writer second. But I mean, I follow him religiously, and I find him much more fascinating and interesting and captivating than Brandon Sanderson. I actually just watched one of his lectures yesterday, and I probably got through 20 minutes, and I was just like, okay, yeah, moving on. But if you're looking for another YouTube personality or quote unquote celebrity, oh, hold on. I just got an important message from my bro. Turns out my brother has like dozens of turkeys he's giving away. And a friend of mine said he could use one, so I'm trying to connect it and make it happen. Make it happen. My turkey is currently defrosting in the fridge, and hopefully, my wife will not be the only one who will be enjoying that turkey. Oh, God willing. Anyways, I am going to sign off here because, like I said, I need to do some work stuff, and then I think I'm going to go downstairs and hang out in the living room just before lunchtime when I get to enjoy delicious soup for lunch. I had a shake for breakfast and soup for lunch, and then I have some form of solid food for dinner. Um, I'm taking it easy on myself. I did start eating solid foods. I want to say Saturday maybe. Um, so fingers crossed that if all goes well for these next 3 days, on Thursday, I will be able to partake of turkey and stuffing, especially since I'm cooking it all. It's like, how are you gonna have me cooking all of this and I can't eat it? Like that's just wrong in so many ways. Um, but yeah, I should be back on streaming tomorrow. Um, Probably not Wednesday, definitely not Thursday. Um, or Friday, but I'm going to stream every now and again. And then in the new year, I'm going to make more of a point to stream more regularly, to write more regularly, to do more things because, in the new year, I'm going to be submitting my stories to publications in the hopes of getting published on one of them. And I have big goals and big dreams that are short story oriented. They're not novel oriented. So I'm taking a going in a new direction, and I think this new direction is going to be one that I'm going to like a lot better. It's a whole new world, a whole new community of people that do short story writing that are not the same people who do novel writing. It's a different ball game in terms of submitting your work to publications and what that means in terms of getting recognized in certain ways. It's a whole new group of specific writers. I mean, there are big name writers who do short fiction and who do novel writing, such as like N.K. Jemisin or um, uh, Stephen King occasionally will write a short story, Brandon Sanderson, those people, but they are mostly known for their novel writing, not so much for their short literary fiction, sci-fi, stuff like that. So I am going to be mainly focusing on just doing the short fiction, working on my Patreon, trying to get some patrons. Um, Releasing 2 short stories a month is my goal in 2021. Um, Releasing an anthology at the end of 2021, which will include my favorite short stories that I will have written in 2021. I'm going to put like maybe 12 or 13 in there. Um, and that's going to be what I'm going to be doing from now until, whenever I want to do short fiction. I don't want to overwhelm myself. And again, my word count cap is for myself personally is going to be 15,000. Many of these publications will accept short stories as long as 17,499 words, because that is the cap on short story writing in most instances. So that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, so I'm going to head on out. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, same time. Um, maybe just as long, not sure yet. Hopefully tomorrow I'm just going to do straight up writing. Not going to be creating any images. I'm not going to be working in any spreadsheets. I'm not going to be doing any of that thing. I'm just going to be straight up writing tomorrow, which will be fun. How do I exit this popsicle stand? Here we go. I haven't done this in so long. I'm still trying to figure it all out. Ugh. My overlay is terrible. I'm gonna get it. I'm going to get my act together by the new year. This year, I'm just gonna kind of go with what I already have set up. But in the new year, I'm gonna try to have some new stuff, move in parts, and all that fancy schmancy stuff like Brenna has on her channel. But for now, this is all I got for you.